Is the lobby ready? Champion select.
We can see our stream overlay.
All right, here we are into Champion Select. This is our final match of the evening of Salt Lake Gaming Con's first round.
Yeah, we can see the...
All right, Anivia banned out first rotation. And INT is going to ban out that Fiora. I don't want that split push pressure right in that top lane.
Absolutely not. Not just the dual capacity alone, too. I mean, absolutely dominant top laner right now.
Super strong into most matchups. I think she can suffer against like a Gnar pick or other ranged matchups like
Quinn,
a Kennen,
yep.
Quinn. Yeah, that's a good one. Nunu banned out. This is an interesting one. He is strong in the meta right now, but we haven't seen much of him.
His pick rate isn't particularly crazy. Like, his win rate is really high, right? If you jump on any, like, LoL King or something like that, you'll see he has the highest win rate in the game right now, but just not a big pick rate, especially into Challenger and Diamond League.
The Zac ban coming out, pretty classic here. We would expect as much from any team. INT going to do it on their rotation. Next ban, the last ban of their rotation coming out here from Pearl Express. I got 5 seconds. Caitlyn banned out. It's pretty standard ban.
Yep.
Last for INT here.
I just want to see my goo man play.
The Zac.
Let the goo play.
Perma ban.
Yep. I love the pool party Zac back. His base is like one of the best looking ones.
And they do ban out that Galio. Don't want to have that gargoyle stone plate massive tank in the front.
No. Let's see. Either it could be a flex pick on the Grog there. We'll see if he actually does end up going jungle, even with the smite there. Could be a top laner.
Could be. We get 2 picks here for red side. INT. These two teams should be relatively well matched. Both of these teams are currently 4-0 in their group so far.
Awesome.
So this is for the first place seed. Kled being hovered here, only a few seconds left to lock that in. He is a decent pick and can duel a Gragas if that does get flexed at top, but it will be the Darius.
All right. Thought we were ready to charge.
Oh,
come on.
Unlucky. That engage can go awry a lot. We've seen that happen.
Absolutely. And I don't mind Darius. He's one of my favorite champions to play in the top lane. So.
Can be a lot of fun. He can be a really scary threat when he does join fights. Ivern, I haven't seen much of him here. I didn't expect him to show up. He is very much pick ban in competitive play.
Absolutely.
In pro play, but not a champion that really has gotten picked up by your average Joe.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
so
especially looking at gold and platinum, you're not seeing a lot of Ivern as much in it, and certainly not at the win rate that we're seeing in Challenger League Iverns.
So he is locked in though, and it looks like they're going to hover the Jarvan. This is probably the top laner, moving the Gragas into the jungle. Got one more pick.
Yeah, he just doesn't quite have the clear that he used to. You don't really see him into the jungle anymore. Although back in the day, Jungle Jarvan 4 was just the gap closer alone. And Tom Kench, please lock him, guys.
Good old Thomas Kench.
I love Tom Kench.
Unbench the Kench. We might get the frog here. That is a massive amount of frontline already drafted here for Pearl Express on blue side. They've got to be planning for some serious late game with a lot of damage out of their mid and AD carry.
I'm waiting for a Tristana, or I mean, Kog'Maw.
Thresh is a decent pick here. Great all-around champion. I'd say S tier in the bottom lane. But interestingly enough, as we get into the second phase of ban here, the cards have been shown out of Pearl Express.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. We know exactly what kind of composition they're looking to go for. So we could look for more target bans into the AD carry. The Caitlyn's already gone. There's the Jhin. If you really pigeonhole them into some bad champion that doesn't scale as well, I mean, not bad, but something like a Lucian, for example, that while a good duelist is not going to scale as well as other champions into the late game, then you kind of reduce the total damage that can come out of Pearl Express's lineup here, and they might just end up getting beaten out by a Darius who can end up true damaging tanks down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got an echo ban there, possibly a counter pick to whatever they're preemptively doing. I mean, not a bad ban anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty
Echo's a
standard.
Very strong champion, yeah.
One more ban from each team before we get the last 2 picks from them. Again, those late game hyper carries getting banned out here.
A target ban, absolutely. I mean, we don't even have that many others left. I mean, we have
Tristana, Kog'Maw, Lucian, and I
guess Vayne-ish. Yeah.
maybe Corki. He's a lot of magic damage right now. Maybe they'd be looking for an AD mid or the Corki mid.
Or
Who
just
knows?
or just even the AP Corki mid.
There are a lot of options left here. Orianna banned out. Focusing on the mid for Pearl Express, though the bans from INT are for that AD carry. So I wonder what they're going to prioritize here. There's very few high-tier mid lane options remaining. We're looking at the Vlad. We're looking at the Syndra. Perhaps Victor, though he's kind of like tier 2. Varus, one of the last few remaining carries. Lucian, he's going to have a lot of pressure with that Thresh. It's a kill lane. Tom Kench can kind of negate some of that threat, but what kind of AD carries left? Tristana, hyper carry.
Has to be expected.
I think they're getting their next ace here. I think this is definitely in favor of Pearl Express. Mid lane is going to be the last question. As 2 picks get locked in here for Pearl Express, I'm sure the Tristana is going to get locked in here. The question is, what is their mid laner going to be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Again,
yeah, I'm thinking on Syndra on that one.
They do have a kind of telegraphed engage there. You either have the Flag and Drag into Cataclysm from the Jarvan, or you have the Gragas, Body Slam. Cassiopeia is going to be great here. Again, that's DPS damage, consistent damage that scales extremely well into late game, and that those 3 body blocking tank liners can definitely keep those 2 backline carries safe.
Generally, her problem is her range, you know, and that she is very vulnerable champion, obviously very, very strong, very good scaling. So, yeah, I think that was definitely a good move for them with the front line that they have going on, and especially with the big J4 ult, it'll be a perfect thing for Cass to follow up on.
The Ahri pick is really good into the Cassiopeia. She can shove in the Cass early, try and deny some of that farm, and really good roam potential, even pre-6, because of that movement speed on the queue. And the Charm, of course, can be really strong to turn some things around.
And looking at the comps so far, what are you thinking as far as our mid-game team fights go into our late-game team fights?
I really think Pearl Express is lacking in the early game, but their scaling is gigantic. It's enormous. It's ridiculous, really. To get the Tristana rolling is probably their prime motivation here in the early game, mid game. They're going to want to funnel farm that way. Cassiopeia, there's only so much you can do with the Ahri there because she's going to get shoved in. It's up to her to just last hit well under turret.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult lane matchup for sure, and that's another area where Cassiopeia pales in comparison to a lot of the main mids right now.
And with that Tristana, her passive on her E means she kind of is forced to push in that bottom lane, which means she's going to be vulnerable to those early ganks, right?
Especially with a Thresh Lucian down there, able to like a lot of follow-up.
Yeah, Flash Flay, something like that to set up a nice Lantern gank. So we're going to want to see vision control set up on that bottom side for Pearl Express to make sure that they can protect that Tristana, get her scaling up, get her safe, and especially just protect her from those early ganks.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of potential there. But I think there are a lot of tools on the side of INT to make some things happen, especially in the early to mid game. I like their jungle pick. I think there's a lot more ganking potential early. And I think in the top lane, I don't know, that matchup's probably more of a skill matchup, to be honest. We'll have to see how it plays out. I think it'll be more contingent on how the jungle goes.
Darius J4, is that our top?
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
The Darius is one-dimensional, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You know what he's going to do. And it's up to the J4 to kind of play that lane to his own tempo, but that means your own mistakes, you have to own them.
Oh, absolutely, and you cannot misengage as Jarvan in this scenario. He's got to be very careful with how he chooses to burn cooldowns, especially if Darius might take a little move speed against him early, as some Dariuses do, just to guarantee themselves that if they see Jarvan throw out a cooldown. Obviously, if he throws one of his 2 moves, you know, he's lost his gap closer, and so Darius can take advantage of that with a big. And, you know, once you get that Darius pull at various points in the game, it's kind of game over unless you have that jungle follow-up or some other kind of safety.
And there's not as much gank assist from the Darius as there is from the Jarvan flag and drag.
Absolutely not, yeah.
Yeah, so in the mid lane, though, it seems that because Ahri is going to be pushing in the Cassiopeia is not going to be pushed out and susceptible to those ganks. Maybe dives, perhaps,
Sure.
though I don't see that happening. And Ahri is kind of a difficult champion to gank. Even pre-6, she's got so much move speed from her Q that she can dodge skill shots, she can get away.
Got the charm.
Right.
She's got a way to get out.
She can turn things around for herself. And then post-6, of course, it's just, I'm sorry, did you want something?
Yeah.
And she just dashes away 3
You're
times.
pretty much saving it for that, especially when you know your jungler is going to be an active ganking jungler. There's no reason to spend it for anything else. Although she is against the she's against the Grog, right? So not horrible for gank potential. You know, he's
Flash body slam.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably got a burn a summoner. He's no Lee. He's no, you know, even Rek'Sai or another guy that's going to come out with some kind of big scary CC, but definitely formidable. You know, not to sell Gragas short by any means.
Yeah, and most of the meta, honestly, is a matter of the early game scaling into the mid. Because even if you pick that late game composition, you can get destroyed in the early game. We've seen that happen at Rift Rivals. We've seen that happen in a couple of games here today.
Absolutely.
Where even when you do pick really good, strong, late game scaling compositions that are set up for success, if you throw away early leads or you don't even get early leads, then you're in big trouble heading into the mid game. You can't actually get the items you need to get the fights that you need, especially considering Pearl Express's composition here in this match is you have 3 tanks.
Yep.
3 massive tanks. None of those champions are known for building damage in the current meta, which means you're relying on the Cassiopeia. You're relying on the Tristana, and if you don't get those champions to have the items that they need when they need them as soon as possible, you're in big trouble.
So if you're Pearl Express here, what's your goal, or what are you trying to shut down here?
Well, you got to protect that Tristana in the early game because, like I said, she's going to auto push, and against a Thresh Lucian kill lane, that's really scary. So you're going to want to see more of that jungle side pressure in the bottom lane. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Gragas getting the super leash from them so that he can get early pressure and be able to secure some vision first, maybe get a gank in the top side to create a little bit of pressure, and then refocus his efforts down there in the bottom lane as we get a few more levels on champions throughout the map.
Now, if you're INT, are you thinking put pressure on these carries? Are you thinking be ganking bot, be ganking mid, make sure that these guys, I mean, you're just going to have meat walls other than that if as long as you can take care of these damaged guys. Obviously, the Flash Ghost on Cassiopeia, very interesting choice there, and likely going to keep her alive. So
yeah, she definitely needs that kind of mobility. I would expect to see Ivern focusing that bottom lane because, like I said, Thresh Lucian already has a lot of kill threat, and if you can just chain CC with the Ivern and gives a bit of shields to maybe turn some things that might get a little testy around, then there's a lot of ability there to just secure some kills, get this Lucian excels in the early to mid game, really rolling and perhaps getting a nice early turret down there.
Sure. And so how common is Flash Ghost on a Cassiopeia or any mid laner these days anyway? I've only ever seen it on the old split push Vlad top was where I saw a lot of Flash Ghosts back in the day.
Yeah, earlier this year we started to see a lot of mid laners choosing that Ghost simply for roam pressure.
Sure.
TP is the other option of that nature, but it's a little bit slower and a little bit more telegraphed. If you can control vision, then using Ghost to make your roams happen, perhaps choosing to roam all the way down to, say, bottom lane or all the way up, the Ghost does a lot for you. And it also is an additional defensive summoner spell to avoid some ganks rather than having to flash. So it's almost like having 2 super awesome mobility spells that can be used both offensively and defensively. And you don't really need to go with a combat summoner spell, especially when you don't necessarily have that kill threat. Ahri, on the other hand, has that kill threat. Land a charm, land a few spells, you're going to deal a lot of damage. You're going to force some of those spells, the mobility spells, out of this Cassiopeia. The Ignite can help her finish off a kill that would otherwise get away from her.
Sure.
Ari's mobility means she doesn't need, you know, a ghost or a teleport or anything like that. She's mobile enough to get around the map on her own accord.
Sure. It's pretty quiet from the junglers here so far. Nothing too crazy. No 2-minute ganks. You know, not really either of these junglers fashion.
Yeah, and I like this start from, well, we got an invade here coming out from the Ivern. Well, I want to see how this
an Ivern coming in. He's already took a peek up the blue. He's really not letting this guy get away with anything.
He hasn't seen Gragas yet. I guess he just decides to back out because he doesn't see what he's looking for. I'm not sure what that was really all about, but he backs off. I do like this pathing from the Gragas here. He started in the top side, started with the blue. Oh, nice hook from the Thresh. A little bit of trade, but with that Gragas, I like that he started topside because, like I said, you need that bottom lane pressure, and him starting topside means he's going to get his levels on his way bottom lane to give a little bit more assistance, a little bit more safety, pressure, at least in the minds of Pro Express's bottom lane here. These trades in the top lane, though, are getting really crazy. They're getting quite low.
I was getting ready for that flash Q from Darius there for a little bit. When Jarvan was still in that range, but I always forget he still has potions. He's still doing all right.
Really quiet from the jungle, though. Normally you would see at least some sort of showing from a jungler who has double buffs, especially a Gragas who can look for those early ganks.
Sure, and I'm sure Pearl Express is not complaining about that, right? I mean, they're like, hey, you guys want to farm? Let's farm.
Yeah, they're okay to stall this game out. But I'm curious as to why Ivern didn't visit that top lane when he had double buffs and Darius has so much damage already.
Or even the red visit with Thresh and Lucian as backups. I mean, both on that bottom side. I'm surprised he didn't peek his head in there either.
Jarvan now having pressure, being able to shield a lot of those last few trades.
Darius with an early back there.
We'll see what he TP's back with.
A
long sword. So he's going for that early phage.
Yep.
Going to be building that black cleaver, and that's going to be decent to help. Oh, we got a gank happening here. Here's Ivern in the lane.
Here comes, yep, and we have, he gets locked in. Ivern comes, we burn a flash out. Lucian in. Oh, we could have first blood here. Tom with the big shield. We also have a gank going top lane. Looks like they're going to get out of that, but we are going to lose Darius to first blood. Gragas taking it.
2 summoner spells blown in that bottom lane to avoid losing that first blood, but INT getting pressure on both sides of the map. Gragas able to pressure onto that Darius. Darius holding his flash, but does fall to Drakar's nice gank there.
That was. He probably should have held that. And we have an exhaust coming out here from Tom Kench. He gets shielded away, and he's going to be just. And we have the counter gank coming in, but the Jarvan comes down, and he's hitting on that Thresh. Pretty good. Thresh is out of mana. He burns his flash. Are they going to keep going? Do they keep going? We just have a poke here from Jarvan, and they're going to pull it out of there.
Yeah, nice clutch heal coming out there from the Lucian.
And we do have Ivern sitting up top. They got to be very careful here.
Well, that's a huge minion wave, though. I don't know what they want to.
Yeah, I don't
Pretty
think
healthy here for Pearl Express. The Flag and Drag, that's a lucky one. Just looking to head out.
Yeah, he had no vision there, right? Yeah.
No word. Might have had an idea, though. He might have considered the possibility there.
I felt something.
And things quiet down a little bit more. Again, no purchases have happened here in the bottom lane, but first purchases have happened for the solo lane. So nice
we got a charm
here.
on Ari coming in. Going to be very difficult.
Nice
we have the ult back on Cassiopeia, and she might be able to finish this one out.
Out of mana. She was out of mana. She was looking for that flash E that definitely would have finished off the Ivern as he flashed away, but she was out of mana. Oh, that's got to be a tilter.
Yeah, absolutely. Just knowing you had that kill, that's got to suck.
Got away.
Yep.
Gragas revisiting the top lane once again. He got that assist over to the Jarvan when the Jarvan already was starting to take over that lane a little bit in this early part. I want to see more aggression from that Jarvan. If he's able to bully this Darius and make the Darius have to sacrifice some farm, fall further and further behind in items, then the more he can delay that Black Cleaver, the more he can delay kill threat from the top lane with a jungle gank. Because right now I do not see the damage coming out from an Ivern and Darius in a 2v2 if it happens in that top lane.
No, just not enough there. Yeah, Darius he'll have enough tank, but he's just not going to have the damage quite to follow it up. He wants a really long engage, which is why, obviously why he tends for top lane.
Well, Lucian takes a bad trade here, only trading his double shot passive. Light Slinger. Ooh, a little bit of a fight here in the top lane. They both do have ultimates.
Yeah, he's going to stick on it. I don't think he's too scared there. both just chugging pots away.
Story of the top lane.
Yep.
All right, back in mid, though, we have a significant CS advantage, minion kills in favor of the Cassiopeia, which is really good, right? We're looking
great.
for this scaling, especially from the Cass, especially from the Tristana, in order to get the damage that they need behind their tank line.
Yeah, no, definitely an interesting.
Oh, and flash bounty flam.
There it is. Oh, and we have the ult coming in. Ari.
Nice flash from the Ari. She might be able to get out of here. There is her ultimate coming off cooldown, and she does make it out alive. That's really good. Flash for flash, so nothing terribly lost there. Ghost was used as well by the Cassiopeia, but she has pressure in this lane now.
Yeah, low cooldown ult, not too big of a deal to bust. Certainly stay alive.
Cassiopeia does still have hers. Oh, nice Q. Gonna get the move speed.
Yep.
Running
Throw
her
the
away
W down as she comes back. Yep. Oh, no, just another Q.
Oh, nice
E.
charm.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
That's a lot of damage. Ivern right here, he doesn't have his flash. Remember, he used it last time.
Right.
A nice trade here in the top lane.
Oh,
Jarvan.
this looks like this is going to be it here for Darius. Yep,
Nice.
and there we have him going down. Obviously, the flash went down. Wow, Darius down. So definitely a clear advantage now for top lane. Jarvan with 10 CS kill assist. So the gold lead, not tremendous, but still 1,000 at 8 minutes. It's enough. It's enough to make it happen.
And as we would hope, we have Tristana pushing in the bottom lane here. Now, most pros that you would ever speak to about these matchups here in the bottom lane regarding Tristana, it's okay to come out of lane down a few CS. You're going to mess a few up for yourself with the Buster shot passive, with that explosive shot, messing up some CS, making things a little bit awkward for farming.
Sure.
And having to trade a little bit of pressure because you're always pushing in. But very good for Pearl Express here is that Tristana's not only just keeping up in farm, but she's got a tiny little bit of a lead that she keeps pushing. And being able to push that in and keep getting damage on the turret. Ooh, nice gank here in the top lane is happening.
He wants it. Yep, it's going to happen again here. I think Darius, where's his flash at? It is off cooldown now, so he's going to be okay, it looks like. Oh, and the flag and drag. Oh,
nice. Secured up there. And that's going to be a second kill on top of an assist for that Jarvan. The top lane, 0-3-0, Darius.
This is not where you want to be with Darius in this lane. I can tell you from playing him this much.
And it's the absolute worst thing that can happen for a top laner if you just teleported back into lane.
Absolutely.
And your flash just came off cooldown. And that's when the enemy jungler shows up to just ruin your day. So he's not only going to fall behind just because of the death, but he's going to miss out on 2 waves of minions and a lot of damage on his turret.
Certainly a tilt factor there too, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So down here in this bottom lane, we're finally getting those purchases. There's a lot of gold to be spent.
Yeah.
A BF sword, a pickaxe, and boots just purchased there.
Come
much
back
gold.
a different person. Obviously, we got attack speed coming down on Lucian, as to be expected.
Yeah, I do like the Blade of the Ruined King rush. I don't think building early crit for Lucian would be the right move here. You're going to need that late game damage scaling, so you'll need crit eventually, but having that max HP scaling damage right now is going to be really good, because if you look at champions like the Gragas, like the Tahm Kench, they're not able to stack resist this early, as we have a gank in the top lane.
We do have a gank coming in. We do have the flag and drag still doing okay, and I think he still has flash as well. He does want to take the fight, it looks like, and I think we're going to see Jarvan out of here now.
Well, that's a good thing for the Darius, able to turn that back around. And it is a shutdown with a bonus of 150 global gold. So, nice hook between the minions.
Oh, we got the death coming in. Looks like they're going to disengage here. Tahm coming back, maybe regretting that trade a little bit. You know, Tahm Kench, not necessarily the guy that you want to be hooking. I guess if you can land one.
Yeah, and I like that there's this Darius and the Ivern are putting a lot of pressure here in the top lane.
Ooh, really close death sentence there by Thresh on that Tristana.
Forcing out this teleport is really important, because the Jarvan has so much damage and now is getting a little bit on the tankier side. He'll probably get a Randuin's. Maybe he's going for something like a Frozen Heart, but I do like the way he's itemizing, and him not having his teleport now means, nice explosive cast down here,
nice.
Forcing the flash out.
Flash out. Very good, very good.
You'll want to revisit that before that flash returns.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll want to fall back up and pretty much do the same thing, right? Because Triss is going to keep pushing in. They're going to want to do that exact same path, and a very good ward in that bush that they have there, because, yeah, that's going to be his gank route.
So first turret does fall in this top lane. Again, that massive Jarvan getting 650 gold there from the local and
he
global.
wants it. We have the slow coming down with the shield. He's going to keep pecking away at him. Oh, and just gets out of range of the Q. That
Really
was
well
just
played.
a beautiful, beautiful trade there by J4.
So not only do we have so much CS in favor in the solo lanes for Pearl Express, but now they've got that first turret gold, which means Jarvan is able to roam a bit as you see him approaching mid lane here. He
Absolutely.
does catch out that pink ward. Ivan's just going to let him know that he sees him.
We have Darius coming up here. I don't think anything's going to materialize out of this. Everyone knows where they are, and I think that INT knows not to take the fight, so I think everyone will just go back to their lanes.
Yeah, and again, teleport might be coming up pretty soon here for the Darius. There's a lot of deep vision. There's a couple wards behind this bottom lane here for Pearl Express, and if Darius can TP behind him, that might be a bad thing, like to play out if they don't have the backup ready, because with the flashes available for both Tahm Kench and Tristana, that TP is going to be useless.
Yeah.
TPing in and trying to get something without a massive amount of engage and CC to chain that up and allow Darius to get his stacks, you're not actually going to catch these people.
No. You need, like I said, it's a long engage for him to have to land that many abilities and auto attacks before you're going to start, slapping people's heads off.
And it looks like the second turret's going to fall here. Look, that brings the gold lead up to 3K as we got a fight here in the mid
coming
lane.
down on Ari. Ari ult goes down. Cassiopeia whiffs the ult, and we have Darius coming in for a kill, and Cass going down on bottom lane. Looks like they want another kill down here as well. Looks like we got the blue golem with the assist on Tahm Kench here. Varus popping an ult on him. Oh, and the death sentence coming in through the wall on Gragas. Gragas has his E burnt. We have Lucian pegging away at him, and he has to burn the flash to get out.
A decent trade there in that bottom lane. I like the 3v3. I really like that play out of the Thresh. Nice death sentence to try and delay that Gragas escape. And then taking...
And we have the ult. He knows the Ari's ult is down. That was very good, having to burn the flash there.
Man, so many summoner spells used, but nobody actually falling. But yeah, like I was saying about that Thresh, I really like that he used an auto attack to destroy that explosive plant, removing that escape pattern availability for the Gragas, forcing him to have to actually flash over the wall, knowing that his body sent was on cooldown.
Right. Yeah, that was beautiful play, beautiful death sentence there by Thresh.
So I'm curious as to how, now that the two side lanes have lost their outer turrets, I want to see how these lane assignments turn out.
Right.
The Thresh is basing. Lucian just hit base and was able to finish his Blade of the Ruined King. He does have actually a lot of damage against these tanks. The tanks that, again, like I was saying, only have stacked health so far. There's a little bit of armor coming out from the Jarvan, a little bit of armor with the Ninja Tabi on this Tahm Kench, but it's still a lot of damage that Lucian can put out with that double shot passive and a lot of chase potential as well.
Right. Yeah, it will be interesting to see. It looks like they are going to go back to lane and let him push in. I'm more interested to see what Grog's next move here is. I assume he's going to want to stay aggressive because they do have their 3,000 gold lead. Wondering if we have dragons coming up or what we're going to see out of him. And we have J4 roaming down here. He is going to get caught by that sight ward, so Ari should know he's coming.
Yeah, there's a little bit of just a vision war happening here. I'm not sure if Pearl Express is really that interested in this Drake right now. If they do get vision on a couple of those members up there on...
It looks like Ivern's coming in on J4 here. He could be on cooldown since he was just barely clearing those minions. Oh, and a very nice hook coming in from Darius. That was a beautiful hook because that flag and drag is out of his range. He had to do it in the middle of it.
It's a very great interrupt, landing that hook, and 2 kills. Going right over the Darius. Starts out 0-3-0, and now he's 4-3. Double buffs and decent CS to boot.
Yeah, definitely a different game than we thought that this would be when we first saw that. A very, very good job by INT for pulling together and pushing this the other way.
And the first turret in favor of INT will fall. Mid lane, a great place to have that happen so that Ivern can start looking for a little bit of that counter juggling, setting up picks with his root. Down in that bottom lane, the vision has now expired for INT. There's not a lot of options for Pearl Express, for INT to contest this Drake. So Pearl Express going to go ahead and take it for free here.
Right, which is much needed after their previous little comeback that Pearl Express has made. Sorry, vice versa, that INT has made.
The next dragon is going to be that the Mountain Drake. I think that one's going to be a little bit higher priority here than the Ocean was. The Ocean just kind of an afterthought, to be honest. It does help with the regen out of combat, and that mostly makes a difference for Cassiopeia out of these champions.
Yep.
But, oh, we do have a pause coming out here.
Looks like we had a DC. All right, well, very interesting game so far. Really cool to see this comeback coming on by INT. Very happy with that. I'm interested to see how these next sets of team fights play out. So we've got a very interesting team fight until that late game scaling kind of sets in for Pearl Express, because it really hasn't yet. I mean, there's a slight gold lead, but INT definitely has a chance to really make something happen with these next 3 to 5 team fights before things get a little more, start to get away from them with that Tristana scaling coming up.
Yeah, and she's been doing a great job farming up a 21 CS lead over that Lucian. Cassiopeia may have fallen twice, but still keeping a 40 CS lead over the Ahri. Ahri having 3 assists to make up a little bit of that difference. Sure. But scaling is happening. Scaling is happening, and that's better for Pearl Express here than it is for INT.
Absolutely. Yeah, INT is going to need to make the moves to push this harder. Absolutely. Coming up here, these next 10-15 minutes for them are definitely going to be the most pivotal, especially the next 8 to 10. We're going to really want to see them pushing these, probably that Mountain Drake and probably about, 23-minute Baron fight they'll probably want to force.
And that could be coming up pretty close here. Also,
so they're just, a computer got unplugged, just people were packing stuff away. So just plugging it back in and reconnecting.
Okay.
And just technical difficulties, we're getting a player back into the game. But as I was mentioning, we saw in the last few minutes of the match here, before the pause, a lot of those skirmishes resulted in flashes being used.
Yeah.
Nobody really falling, nobody really dying, but people using, expending those flashes to get out of those bad situations, which means those have been down in the meantime, and somehow nobody's really capitalized on that, and they're all coming back up. Most of the flashes across the board are now coming off cooldown right in time for those first item power spikes. We got the Trinity, we got the Infinity Edge on Tristana. We got the Lucian.
Black Cleaver on Darius.
Yeah, Black Cleaver on Darius. He's now 4-3, and he's going to have that ultimate available for team fights and a lot of sustain with his Qs. Most of these champions so far are completing their first core item. And so with Summoner spells coming back up as well, these are going to be some really explosive fights. But once again, I'm not sure if anybody's actually going to die in them, because where's the stackable CC? It's really up to the Jarvan to start these fights for Pearl Express, if he's there. I mean, he's the top laner. He's got the teleport. We'll have to see what kind of choices Pearl Express decides to make when it comes to these team fights. Because, again, they don't necessarily have to force anything. They've got a 2-to-1 turret lead. They've got a gold lead. They've got CS leads on their carries. They can keep scaling this up to the point where there is nothing left for INT to do except for force bad fights.
Right. And get them on their heels, right? So they feel like they have to force these fights, which is what you want to do, right? And then you know, whether you guarantee yourself the vision advantage or whatever it is. But the big thing, though, is that AoE lockdown. That's got to happen to some extent. There's got to be a J4 ult followed by that castle on at least a carry or 2 to 3 people, whatever it is. But I think you're right. I think we're going to see a lot of flashing out of these fights, and I think it's going to be hard to have these aces happen and have fights where someone can take an objective after, too. I think they're going to be close fights.
I really do think this game is on a timer for INT. They really have to make something happen here soon, because if we look at just the team compositions in general, even if they weren't hyper-scaling, what tools does INT have to even get to that Tristana? They don't have a Zed. They don't have something crazy divey available to them. The closest thing to that they do have is the Darius, who has to walk through everyone.
Right.
And while he may be able to do that quite menacingly, he still has to walk at you.
Yeah, and it's not a big hook. I mean, obviously we have the Death Sentence, and it is a nice long-range hook, but you have to have something to follow up after the Trist jump out, right?
It's really just that Ahri, I think. Ahri has to have either a nice flank or Tristana has to miss position and get hit by some lucky charm. Lucky charm, but I don't see the tools available to INT for dealing with that super hyper carry backline Tristana and Cassiopeia. Because, I mean, if we're saying Ahri's the option to get to the backline, I'm sorry, there's a spell called Miasma coming out from the Cassiopeia that says, no, I'm sorry, you don't actually get to dash back here.
Right.
You're stuck where you're at. And of course, that slows the Darius, who has to run through everyone anyway. I just don't see the tools to get to that back line, especially once Tristana gets her own items and can just shred through people who are having to just walk at her.
Right.
And on the flip side, I don't see Lucian ever getting the damage necessary to actually pressure the tanks. He might be able to kill him in extended fights, of course, because he's a DPS champion, but he needs Blitterthrough King, he needs, I don't know, Phantom Dancer, and probably straight into a Last Whisper by the time he gets those items. He's going to need that armor shred. And maybe that's up to the Darius to just exist in the fights long enough to get those black cleaver stats. But even that item's been nerfed recently, I just don't see the tools available.
No, I absolutely have to agree with you there. It's going to be very difficult for INT to get into this position properly. But you know what? Anything can happen in these team fights, and there's so much of these team fights that comes down to just, you know, AD carry positioning and regular game knowledge. And I think that this is still, you know, obviously if we're looking at, you know, dead even MMRs, we're probably going to be giving this late game to Pearl Express. But as we know in League of Legends, anything can happen with any team comp. You know, we've all been rolled by things that we looked at team select and we're like, this game's over now.
Yeah. And it's good to keep the tilt factor at bay, even when you do see that your own game is on a timer of that sort. Although there are a few options available and win conditions for INT, mostly having to deal with vision and picks. With the Ivern being able to get those long-range routes and the knockups from his ultimate with Daisy, he can lock people down who face check bushes, and his control of River with the Scuttle can make a huge difference there. And having Ahri kind of make some of those picks with him means the damage is there.
Right.
You've got the CC, you've got the damage. Now you can pick off some of these members, especially those carries while they're rotating between lanes. If you can control that vision, maybe you can get the picks, and maybe from there you can take some objectives. But again, these are a lot of maybes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've got to make these scenarios kind of happen for them by posturing in a way where they're thinking that they're going to be at Baron and finding someone out there, or yeah, like you said, in transition wherever they're going to. So they've definitely got to make their own picks happen in this case, and probably not just hope to get lucky.
Yeah, you don't want to just be in a position where you have to hope.
Yeah.
Where you have to hope for the enemy team to make a mistake. But oftentimes games can end up being in that position where you fall so far behind that you're just like, please, somebody face check the river so that we can win because it's late game.
Yeah.
And speaking of late game, I do think they do want to put, they meaning Pearl Express, do want to put a lot of priority into securing that mountain when it does spawn. I think it'll do wonders for their ability to snowball into that late game. They've already got those early advantages, a couple of turrets, global gold there, farm advantages in their solo lane, and I do want to see them using that to secure objectives, especially when particularly the Mountain Drake will aid them in baiting or taking Baron.
Yeah.
And that's an important objective here because they're going to need that. If they only have the 2 damage threats, they're going to need Baron buff to break the base.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are we just waiting for that 3-minute buffer?
Yeah. So the pause has ended on the live game. We're just waiting for the spectator delay to come back through. So we'll get back into game here shortly. Again, this is Pearl Express versus INT. They're both 4-0 in their group. So one of these teams is going to drop a game here.
Right. Very exciting. Very, very excited to see how this plays out, especially with the position that we're in right now. I mean, just like we were saying, it's a make-or-break moment for INT. Pearl Express just trying to hold it out. I'm very excited to see how these next couple of fights come down.
And if we're looking at the gold, it's not a massive lead, but 2,000 is nothing to scoff at. 2 turrets to 1, but the 1 key turret taken by INT in that mid lane, it opens up the jungle. And like I said, if you're looking, if the win condition, quasi-win condition for INT are those picks in the jungle, then having that mid lane taken so early really does make that huge difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, here we are. Play has resumed. Pearl Express INT. So Tom Kench, we haven't spoken much about him so far, but what he does offer here is, we mentioned how Ahri kind of has to be the option to get to that back line, maybe the Darius. What else is left? But let's imagine a scenario in which some of those champions do get near Tristana.
Sure.
Unfortunately for INT, there's this champion whose name is Tom.
Yeah.
And he has this cool ability where he can gulp up an ally and just run away with them.
Right.
To reposition them while keeping them invulnerable, untargetable, inside him for a short duration, giving move speed. So even if, and that big if, somebody can get back there to try and challenge this Tristana in a team fight, if Tahm Kench is positioning well and keeping an eye on Tristana, then even if the worst happens,
right,
there's that that fail safe.
Yep, got that Tahm Kench sheet, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for Tristana to not be safe here. She's gonna either need to be caught or make some kind of serious positional mistake.
And like I said, pretty much all summoner spells available across the board. And look at this 5v5 situation here.
We have all summoners up.
It's a little bit of a stalemate kind of a position here in the mid lane. Each team wanting the other to start the fight.
Right.
But I guess the stall is fine here for Pearl Express. They can really just wait for that late game scaling, keep getting that farm, funneling it onto the Tristana or the Cassiopeia as they're doing here.
Yeah, right now it's the time for INT, and I'm sure this is what they're discussing in team chat right now. It's like, okay, what's the step right now? What do we do right now to get this fight going?
Well, there are a couple engage tools like the Thresh Hook, like the Ivern Root, or Darius Flash Hook, or something like that, or even just Ari ulting forward and charming someone, Flash Charm, something like that. There's a few options for engaging on the side of INT, but the problem with that is, can you actually burn down the target that you do start the fight on?
Right. Yeah. If you hook in Tahm Kench, I mean,
what gives, right? Like that doesn't really gain you anything other than the mana you lost to cast that Death Sentence spell, right?
Absolutely.
So
we got 2 blue buffs down on here for these guys. Looks like we have pretty quiet lane up top. They're just pushing each other back and forth.
And it is now the 20-minute mark, which means while most of this game has been rather quiet, I imagine now that Baron is on the table, now that the next dragon's going to be spawning in just a few minutes here, those objectives become more and more juicy looking to especially Pearl Express's scaling comp here. If they can create that kind of pressure and deny vision from INT, then INT doesn't have that option to get those picks that they need in order to have the numbers advantage for them to get these objectives.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there is significant damage on the side of INT. Darius, while a fighter, while a tank per se, does actually offer a lot of damage to a team fight. And not just his ultimate being true damage. It's that bleed and the Black Cleaver can help amplify the Lucian damage coming out in extended trades. And most of these fights, I imagine, will be relatively long fights, considering
for sure.
the tank line of Gragas, Tahm Kench, and Jarvan versus the AoE control that's offered by a Thresh, by a Darius.
Right, and that tank line is also, that takes away from their potential damage too, so you know things are going to be more sustained as a result.
And bad base timings, I think, here from INT, leaving this mid lane wide open, and Tristana just shreds those down, putting that bomb on it. That's going to be the third and final outer turret taken by Pearl Express, opening up that side of the map and pushing that line of scrimmage, so to speak, further and further closer to INT's base.
We'll see if we have something interesting like a form up on Baron here. No, we have a Cassiopeia back, and looks like J4 is going to clear out and push bottom lane back up. Yeah, and it's on INT here. I mean, this is their time to really force something.
Yeah, all's quiet on the home front, really. We're getting some resets here from blue team. Pearl Express trying to get those next items. We've got now 2 core items on the Cassiopeia. A little bit more CDR is going to mean that her DPS in fights is nothing to scoff at. We do have an Infinity Edge and parts of Ezreal coming out from the Tristana. So a few core items already coming through. And I do like this push happening here from INT, getting
especially
started.
That split up there.
Ooh, the TP coming out from the Jarvan. We're going to have a fight starting here.
All right, Gragas coming in first, and looks like they're we have Thresh going in there. We have Darius coming in with a hook. They're going to be focusing Darius here. Darius is going to drop. We have the Thresh ult coming down. Jarvan flashes out. They're going to chase down. Lucian ult coming out. He gets hit out of it by Gragas. And we just have a death sentence, and looks like we'll have a disengage here.
So it's just a one-for-one trade overall there, as it looks like INT might want to continue this fight as they see the juicy low health bar. The flash hook does miss, though.
But we do have that big exhaust coming down. Looks like Thresh is gonna survive. We're gonna see Tahm Kench and possibly Tristana drop here. We have the eat. Looks like Tahm Kench is going to go down, but he spits her out just in time. We have the flash coming down. Ooh, not enough there.
I think that it was a necessary flash from the Tristana there. We talked about who can get to Tristana. Well, if his whole team is dead, there's really not anything left to protect him, and the Lucian was able to auto him in that fight, forcing those summoner spells out. So really well played by INT, getting the necessary picks, dealing the necessary damage to melt those tanks. The Darius fell really quickly in that fight.
Yeah, and that was just not really the positioning he wanted. I mean, maybe... I'm thinking he did want to be in there for that, just like he was. But that was just, yeah, it was just a little too fast. I don't know if they expected that kind of damage coming out from them. And then, you know, that's always the tough part about playing Darius and Riven and some of these champions where you kind of really got to be in the mix. And you know, Darius doesn't get afforded all that mobility that Riven has. So
yeah.
It's like, it's so difficult to know, okay, exactly when do I fully commit? Because you can't partially commit with him.
Yeah, and a little bit of the chaos in that fight was problematic for Pearl Express. They got really split up. Their individual members were being able to be focused down, which means if you don't have to fight 3 tanks at once, you can just focus down them one at a time. And if they're out of the way, then Tristana's not safe anymore.
Right.
Especially now that, like we talked about, pretty much every summoner spell was now used.
Yep.
And they're all going to be on cooldown for quite a while here, meaning this next fight or the fight for vision right here around Baron is going to be very risky for both teams.
Right, and it looks like that's going to be what INT is making their next plan. I'm betting. I think we're going to see a lot of hovering up around Baron here now that Mountain Drake is down.
And I think Ari is doing a great job keeping her team in the game here. 3, 0, and 4, 2 core items on top of tier 2 boots. That's a lot of damage she's got. And that's the kind of damage they need, because look, we've got armor stacking on all 3 of the tank champions for Pearl Express, but not a single MR item purchased by those tanks. There's a null magic mantle there for the Cassiopeia, but there's not a lot that can do for her.
And we see J4 looks like he's going to go ahead and initiate here. Yes, he's got the ult down. Big cask there from Gragas. Lucian coming back with the ult. We got the Thresh ult down, and looks like there's going to be a disengage here with that cage coming down.
Yeah, just a nice pick onto the Ivern. He's not able to deal with the damage while he's in that Cataclysm, and a nice secure there by the Gragas cask, making sure that Ivern couldn't actually escape. And with that jungler down, we might be looking at Baron here for Pearl Express. Does that walk over a ward?
Yeah, well, I wonder if they're going to actually start Baron here.
I don't know. INT's really low, so they can't really contest these
health bars. Looks like they are going to start it.
They do start it up.
This will be a very interesting fight to see if INT does decide to try to contest this here.
There might be a steal possibility. Remember that the Mountain Drake was picked up by INT, which means their even basic abilities do deal a portion of true damage. Oh, it was close, but nice smite coming out from the Gragas to secure it, and it looks like they're going to chase. Nice slow exhaust.
We got an exhaust down on Darius. We have Gragas chasing in hard. Tristana jumps in, not out, and looks like we are going to see Darius drop there, and I don't know if they're done yet. They're going to go ahead and push this lane down. Nope, we got backs coming in from Pearl Express. They want to make sure and utilize that full Baron buff.
Absolute disaster for INT, losing their jungler, now losing the Baron, losing another member on the tail end of that. When if they're going to decide not to contest it or even just look for a steal over the wall, nobody should be right there in the river. The Darius has no reason to get caught there and give her yet another kill. An absolute disaster for the scaling composition. Pearl Express able to control not only the Baron, but getting those extra kills, especially on their key members like the Tristana. Tristana now has completed another crit item, which means that DPS from that unreachable backline is going to be greater and greater with an extra Zeal coming out.
Yep.
So that's a lot of crit chance. That's 70% crit chance at this point, meaning it's unlikely for her not to crit when she's dealing so much of that attack speed too between those 2 items and her Q with that attack speed steroid. So with these Baroned up minions, they're going to be able to pressure in. Nice hook out of the Thresh though. Will it turn into anything?
It doesn't look like we're going to have any materialization there, and Pearl Express just going to push in here and try to pressure this turret. I'm not sure if we're going to see a fight under turret here. I think they're just going to be pressuring as hard as they can. I still don't know if it's quite the fight. This is about where they want to fight if this fight decides to start. We do have the thresh and a big cask coming in by Gragas there. That cask was that entire fight. Looks like Darius trying to hold on here. We do have a very good fight coming back from INT. We still have Tristana up top taking people down, and looks like we're going to see the rest of INT drop. That is an ace for Pearl Express. That Gragas cask was that fight.
That was amazing. Chained right into a beautiful Cataclysm to lock people down. And what were we talking about? Who were we talking about when it came to late game damage? Yeah. Triple kill on the Cassiopeia, double kill on Tristana, sharing that Penta together. And now they're going to break that base. With plenty of time left on this Baron, they might be able to even take that tier 2 bottom. Yeah, Jarvan's already headed there.
Ooh, he's deciding. Yep, he's going to go around. He's going ahead, and I assume we're going to see following suit here.
And I really did like those aggressive rocket jumps by the Tristana, not afraid to get down and dirty, get those resets, make sure that she can secure those kills to make sure that they can break that base as soon as possible. The sooner that they can break that base, the more that they can push that Jarvan out with the teleport he has available to him and push a side lane while pressuring yet another inhib.
And INT has just got an uphill battle now to deal with. Now we're really, ever since Triss finished that second item, and now she's got her zeal and it's just going to get way more difficult with Triss at 305, and there we see another item completed. The gold lead is substantial now. Now it's up to almost 10,000. So we're gonna see what INT decides to do to try to combat this, but it's gonna be difficult, especially while this. Do we still have a Baron buff up there? Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's gonna be timing out here within the next few seconds, and then Mountain Drake, a second Mountain Drake, gonna be spawning in just 7 seconds here. That could be a decent take for INT, but they're up here defending the top lane. They might have considered just having one person defend, as the wave would lose its Baron buff, and having the rest commit down to that mountain. Because if they can secure 2 mountains, they might actually have a way back in here.
Right.
But
Jarvan
like just soloing it out.
Yep.
And that's going to go on over to Pearl Express. No global, steal, Ezreal ult, or anything of that sort coming out from INT to steal it from that far away. So now that they've secured this, the Baron buff has expired. The mid lane inhibitor is still down. We'll see what kind of options are available for Pearl Express. It looks like they want to pressure that bottom lane, but they don't really have much of a wave, and the vision is somewhat lacking. So this is a little bit of a sticky situation, a little bit of a slow, methodical choice. Cautious movements need to happen here for Pearl Express not to throw this lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, it looks like they're just going to get nice big waves up there and hope they have to pull someone off.
This is a really bad situation for Pearl Express. I do not agree with this choice. They've got the 2 carries up there in the top lane alone, now finally having people rotate over, but the vision was already there. I would have expected INT to really hard engage on those carries while they were alone, but
like passing a flash hook or something like that.
And passing up that opportunity is really huge, especially when you have to flash down on the Cassiopeia. And it looks like another inhibitor turret will fall.
And, I think we got Tristana jumping in again. I like these very aggressive jumps from Tristana. We got Ari coming in with the ult, and I think we might see Cassiopeia drop here. There's the Cassiopeia ult going in, dropping Darius down. We got Lucian ult. Tristana still just doing wreckage. Jarvan ult coming down with the Cataclysm. He drops the wall, and I think we're going to see a finish here from Pearl Express. I just can't see what INT could do here. We got that hook coming in, but it's just not going to be enough on a big Gragas like that this late in the game.
That Cassiopeia damage is insane.
Yeah, she's getting very aggressive there.
Hooked onto the platform, a little cheesy there, gonna fall. 14-11, the final kill score here, unless something crazy does happen on the back end here. Okay, Thresh is gonna fall, as KDA is gonna fall with him.
Ari just doing everything she can to hold this up, getting
nice
eaten by Tom Kench, and that's gonna be it. Very, very good by Pearl Express to pull out that win there. They took their small advantages from late game, even though INT made a great push there at about 15 to 17 minutes to bring that lead back. Yeah, that was a great game to watch.
An excellent play, absolutely, out of Pearl Express. I really do think they won it in the draft phase early on Champion Select. They drafted an amazing composition, played to their win conditions, played to their strengths, and were able to come out with the win, bringing them to 5-0 in their group to match the Bandle Gunners on the other side of the group stage.
Awesome.
And that's going to be the first loss.
Yep.
INT drops, but they'll still advance for sure into the next phase.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will be seeing that tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining us here at Salt Lake Gaming Con today. I'm Mike Moon, this is Jake Morey, and we've been happy to commentate for you guys today, and we will see you tomorrow morning.
Good night.